Most conversations about money online fall into two extremes. On one side, we hear polished success stories that skip the messy middle. On the other, we hear fear based advice that honestly, listeners, leaves us frozen instead of feeling empowered. Today's conversation sits somewhere more honest. Welcome to the BizBlend Podcast, listeners. This is your host, Sana, as always, here, and my guest today, Joey Ruffalo, paid off over $370,000 in personal debt. That's not a typo. And since then, he has helped clients eliminate more than $2.5 million in debt and build over $1 million in savings. But let me tell you, listeners, what makes Joey's story interesting is not just the numbers, it's the fact that he did this as a small business owner while managing teams, while navigating unstable income, while building media platforms like podcasting, YouTube, and community programs. So today, we are not here to glorify hustle or maybe sell shortcuts or magic formula. We are here to ask the uncomfortable questions. What does paying off massive debt actually require? What does it cost emotionally? Where does traditional financial advice fail entrepreneurs? And how do content, visibility, and money intersect in ways people really talk about honestly? So, Joey, welcome to the BizBlend podcast, and I'm absolutely honored having you here with us.
Thank you so much, Senator. Great to be here.
Yeah, Joey, yeah, $370,000 in debt. That's a lot. But before that, with your background, I mean, you have formal financial training, you have real world experience. So I'm really curious, like, where do you see personal finance advice breakdown when it actually meets the real life scenarios? Because we get so many advices. I mean, as a normal person also, like we get so many advices from our loved ones that would be out of care or love, from our friends, sometimes colleagues, sometimes bosses, and everywhere. I mean, there are so many voices out there, so many opinions out there. But then for people who are living paycheck to paycheck, where do you see personal finance advice breaking down? Where's the gap?
I think the gap is in education. So here in the States, we don't have a very robust personal financial education program in our school system. So starting at a young age up until high school, personal finance is not a course that is required for graduation. You don't have to know how to budget or balance the checkbook to graduate high school or to pass courses or anything like that. We're more concerned about um, I don't know if they have it everywhere, but we were always told like, when we're taking advanced calculus or we're taking trigonometry or these crazy math programs in high school that we always look at it and go, when are we going to use this in life? Like, when are we going to be at the checkout counter at the grocery store and have to know uh, what the sides of an isosceles triangle add up to? I never used it, but I need to know how much money I have in my pocket. I need to know what's in my bank account. I need to know if I swipe my card or use this cash, how much I have left over. And we think about it as being basic math, right? Add,
Yeah.
addition, subtraction. If you have $25, you spend 20, you have 5 left. That's great. But a lot of people nowadays with online banking and credit cards and digital currency and stuff, we don't know what we have a lot of times. And we are overspending, and we're not careful with our finances anymore. So I think traditional financial education, and then I back that up by saying you have to know the source. So you mentioned a lot of places in the beginning that we can get financial education from. We can get financial education from banks, from credit card companies, from financial advisors, from friends and family. Everybody's got a little bit of a different agenda. If I'm going to take financial advice from a credit card company, well, they're going to lean into using a credit card and borrowing money and debt. Banks a little bit too. They may say, hey, loans are a great option. Again, leveraging debt in certain ways. Friends and family might have a different approach. The
Mm-hmm.
great thing about personal finance is it's personal.
Yeah.
Personal to you, it's personal to me, it's personal to the next person. So how it works for you may not be how it works for me. So it's not this one size fits all mantra, but you have to do what works best for you, and you have to work within your confines. If you're more risk averse and you can handle risk and you have a bigger income, by all means, maybe look into exploring some debt options as leverage.
Mm.
But if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you hate the fact that, your lights are going to be turned off next week if you're not careful and you hate risk, don't go out and borrow money. Don't go out
Mm.
and get a credit card and loans on top of things, because you're not going to be able to sleep well at night if that's in your purview. Yeah.
Absolutely, Joe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, infinitesimally, I agree with your point because this is a very pragmatic look at it. Because you know, many people would say, "Oh, I love taking risks," but then they would look down upon people who would say, "No, I don't want to take risk. I want
Right.
to, sleep comfortably in the night, thinking that okay, I have things sorted out at least for this week or at least for tomorrow." I mean, just for the sake of saying it, but at least
Mhm.
it depends on person to person. That's why it is personal finance. It's not that it's something generalized or one size fits all. I think somewhere down the line, like most people are not financially responsible, but I think looking at the current scenario, I think we're financially overwhelmed. I mean, right now we are saying that people are saying like the current generation, the Gen Z, is the most um uh, you know overwhelmed in debt right now. Probably maybe because of some unconsciously or consciously expenses on
Mhm.
things which would not be necessary or bare minimum for them to at least survive per se. But I really love what you said. Really agree with what you said.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, Gen Z. I had a guest on my podcast recently, the Prosperity Lounge, who is a Gen Z person, and basically they were talking about Gen Z gets a bad rap, right? That people
Yeah,
look at them as being disconnected, like maybe even like lazy, irresponsible, things like that. Gen Z people know what they want, and
exactly.
they're gonna want to work for people who are gonna provide them what they want, whether it's a work life balance, whether that is whatever it ends up being. They're not just going to work for the sake of work. So work culture has changed over the years as well. When you look at television shows here in the States or around from like say the 50s, right? You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, you had your traditional, let's say your nuclear family, mom, dad, two kids. Dad went to work, mom stayed home, kids went to school, whatever. Dad's identity was based around his job. What does your dad do? And then the wife's identity was, what does your husband do?
Mm-hmm.
That was so work was the identity of people back then. And that's changed over the years. That's changed more now than ever. Like now, work isn't your identity. Work is a means to an end. Work is just something you do to get you to be able to do the things that you want to be identified for, as a community builder, as a legacy person, as someone who uh, volunteers, does things around you, things like that. You're not identified more as about what your job is. You want to be more identified as who you are as a person. And the Gen Z seeing that more, and they use the work as a means to an end. They're not drinking the corporate Kool-Aid anymore.
Exactly. Exactly. I think personal finance, I believe it's not only just about numbers or
Mhm.
what's your input, what's the output, or ROI and all that stuff. But it's, I think, more, socially relevant. Like, we look at generations, like we talk about our parents. Like, I come from millennial generation. So my parents or people in that era, I mean, depending on country to country or region to region, maybe it was time when the entire country has come out of colonization and is kind of it's in that phase where the foundation is getting prepared right now. It's not about like whether individually I'm prosperous or not, but I have to make sure that my family is able to have 2 squares meal a day and a
Mhm.
house or asset building. um but I think right now, the current generation, it has an insane pandemic at that time when, they are in their colleges, they are now about to enter into the job market. I mean, let alone the wealth creation. Right now, I think it's more about how can I at least have a respectable, a good life, not in terms of that I'm partying or I'm having a lot of friends or I'm, wearing shiny clothes, but at least is there an is there a possibility of creating wealth? Because um the wealth creation aspect and just surviving and trying to earn money just because you have to survive, I think these are very two different aspects.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think your definition of wealth, right? A
Mhm.
lot of people were sold to be wealthy, you have to be rich. To
Mm.
be rich, you have to have a lot of money. But there's a lot of different definitions of wealth. You can be a wealthy person and not in riches, right? You can have great friends, great family, great community around you, people that do anything for you, a roof over your head, you know, drop if I need something, somebody's always there for me. That's wealth. That's a type of wealth. Or you can be really rich and be lonely. Are you really wealthy? You have material wealth, but are you really wealthy? So there's a balance in between, I think, but you can be wealth in either one of those aspects. It's just a matter of what is your goal in life, Sarah? Right? What is your goal in life? Like like I said, I'd rather be wealthy with people around me, people that care about me, people
Mm.
that are going to be showing up when I need them at a drop of a hat. I need somebody, boom, they're there. That's real wealth. And I think Gen Z and the younger generations are seeing that as that's what they want. They don't really, yeah, material stuff is great. I think the older generations now or marketing itself has sold the younger generation a big bill of goods. You need to have a certain job. You need to go to a certain college. You need to have a certain degree. You need to do this and this in order to get the life you want. And it puts them massively behind the eight ball, as they say. You're so far behind in debt when you come out that now you've sacrificed yourself to this corporate greed, to this debt society, and you've given a piece of your soul away. There's things you can do in life you don't need to be in debt for. You still have a great life.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this discussion can go for hours and hours and long on.
For sure.
I know. But going to your journey, because I'm very sure well listeners would have heard, paying off $370,000 in debt. I mean, they would imagine discipline and motivation, but what part of that journey was the hardest for you, Joey, and but really talked about?
The hardest for me was the realization that I was the problem,
Okay.
but I was also the solution. So I think that moment in time was like the switch. So realizing I was the problem. So I'll tell you a little bit about my story. We were small business owners. We had
Mhm.
9 independent contractors working for us at the time. We were
Okay.
making the most money we've ever made in our life is 2006, 2007, 2008, and the economy crashed. And we had to let everybody go, and our income dropped by 80%. And I decided that I was still going to show people that I was smart. I knew what I was doing. So I continued to spend like we were making a lot of money. Now,
Mhm.
I should say we were in a service business. We were doing pet sitting and dog walking. That was our business.
Okay.
It was right out of college, and I didn't go to law school. I decided to open up a pet sitting business with my wife. We didn't go to grad school, so we can open up a pet sitting business. And people look at us like we were crazy. Why are you not going to law school and getting a great gig as a lawyer and making a lot of money as a lawyer? Why do you want to walk dogs and scoop cat boxes and pick up cat poop and dog poop all day? Well, it was paying good money. We were making
Mhm.
our own hours. We were our own boss, and it was fun. We had a great time doing it. So in order to prove to people that I was smarter than them and I knew what I was doing and I didn't want to go to law school and do all that, but I was going to do this. I decided to show people off, show show off that I was making a lot of money. So bought new cars, lots of vacations, lots of eating out, lots of fancy stuff. And then we didn't save any of it. And then when the economy crashed, I had payments to make on those brand new cars and those fancy vacations I charged and those dinners I charged. And you know what? We ended up $370,000 in debt. $370,000. And I came home one weekend. It was a 3-day weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And on Friday, there was there was 3 notices on our door. The first one was from our landlord saying, "You haven't paid rent, and if you don't pay rent in 3 days, you're out."
Yeah.
Another notice was from the power company letting us know our power was turned off for non-payment. And another one was from the water company letting us know our water was turned off for non-payment. So that weekend, Santa, we sat in the house with no power, no electricity, no water, and trying to figure out how we're going to keep a roof over our head come Tuesday. So I luckily had a garden hose in our garage that I ran up a flight of stairs through a window from a community faucet and took a cold shower and realized I am the problem,
Mm.
but I'm also the solution. So how do I fix this? And that's where my journey began. You said in the introduction that I have financial training and all this stuff. I have an MBA in financial planning. I have all these certificates in financial planning and finance. I got those after this. I got those because of this. I was smart. I knew what I was doing. I had all the gimmicks. I was going to beat the system. There's a saying in gambling. If you go to Las Vegas, the house always wins. The house always wins. You can have it all figured out, but the house always wins. So
It's already.
that's yeah. So that's where I got started, and I I don't say it lightly, but I think the biggest failure in financial planning or personal finance is lack of communication as well. So I said earlier, it was the knowledge. It was the basic knowledge growing up, but it's also communication. Money's a thing that people don't like to talk about with you don't talk about it so much with your friends unless you're successful, and then you kind of talk about it a little bit. But when you're struggling, you don't talk about it with your friends and family. You certainly don't talk about it with your wife, which I didn't. I didn't have a conversation with my wife at all about our problems, and that was a big mistake.
Yeah, I completely agree with you because um I mean, like people say that, in good times everyone is like with you, but in bad times that one person or maybe a few are there with you. They are the real ones. And that's exactly like, I mean, till the time you are successful, people are valuing you. But if you're not successful, maybe you're failing, you wouldn't tell anyone, because you know that you'll be mocked or people will talk about you behind your back. And money is something that, I think, yes, this
Mhm.
it's unfortunately it's very, very true. Very, very true.
It is. It goes back to my definition of wealth, right? Are you wealthy with money and people are around you because of it? Are you wealthy because of who you are as a person and people are around you because of it? So people are around you because if you have money, don't have money, but just the type of person you are, your values, your integrity, that's the truth. That's a real definition of wealth. So when you don't have money, people are around you. And when you have money, you become more of a great person you are. You're able to bless more people, but you're
Mm.
still that grounded, same person who has integrity and values.
Right, right. And I think that cold shower that you took, I don't know whether you would agree with me or not, but it was kind of a nervous system reset for you, an absolute reset for you.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I still I still think about how cold it was. It's still a you still get a little chill when you think about it, like a little shiver, because it's a constant reminder of where I was. Now I don't say it lightly because yeah, I was blessed still to be with a roof over my head, with
Mm.
the shower that I was having. And I know in many parts of the world, a cold shower is a shower. and a roof over my head is a roof over my head. And here I am complaining about some things. But, you know, i- in my what I had built up around me was collapsing. So whatever
Okay.
that looked like in your world, just think about whatever you have around you is collapsing and you're gonna have nothing the next day or two and what that looks like. And that system of you said a nervous system reset. I mean, it was just part of this whole cycle we were going through. I mentioned earlier, I was smart. So I bought 2 new cars to show
Mhm.
off how good we were doing. Well, I missed payments on those, Santa, and I got calls from the company they were gonna come repo our cars.
Exactly.
So I didn't sleep for 2 years. I mean, I slept, but I didn't really sleep. Because every time I heard a truck drive through my apartment complex, I thought they were towing my car. So I would jump up out of bed, look out the window, and go, "Whew, okay, I can go back to sleep for a little bit longer until it's daylight." And then I have to get in the car and drive around and try to do work. And hopefully they don't try to tow my car when I'm out and about at a client's house and I can't get back. But yeah, fear is real and you can let it control you, which I did for a really long time, or you can fight back, which I started to do and I still do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this is very much also relevant, especially, in fact, when I was like in my teens, like people would say, don't worry about money, just live your day, live the moment. No,
Yeah.
no. I mean, at least I credit my father, every time, like, so in India, like, there was still, right now, I don't know whether it's a culture or not, but it's kind of it used to be like a culture that, um, uh, students would not um, work, or maybe a few would work, but mostly, we had to depend on our parents for our pocket money and stuff. So every time my dad used to send money, he used to like write in message, spend judiciously. And I used to laugh at that time, but now when I'm trying to understand the whole, not math, the sentiment, not the fear, but that being cautious behind the intention behind that is absolutely crystal clear.
Absolutely. Now, financial planning, we talked earlier about being personal finance. So there's a lot of theory and a lot of, um, I hate to use the word theory. It's the wrong word here, Sana, but approaches to how you look at finance. Now, a lot of people, there's the and this is kind of a space I'm in a little bit here because of the programs I went through and the people that I coach, is a little bit of the like biblically based finance. So basically saying, I don't own it all, God owns it, and I manage it for him. So when you think of money as like your steward as a stewardship, when you're stewarding the money for somebody else, if you can get that into your vernacular and kind of your day-to-day mindset that it's not mine, it's somebody else's, and I have to manage it correctly. Otherwise, I'm a poor manager, and I don't want to be a poor manager. Then you can start looking at money in a different approach. Um, some people just look at it as, it's in, it's out, it's mine, it's gone. That's great. But if you look at it as it's not mine, it's somebody else's, and I have to manage it wisely, then you start thinking about money differently. And whether you believe in that approach or not, but just thinking about the basics of it, it's, I have to manage money wisely because even if you're not managing it, let's say uh, for God, let's say, you're
Mhm.
managing it for your future generations. You're managing it for your legacy. And if I'm poor with it now, my grandkids and grandkids are going to have nothing. What does that say about, hey, remember, oh, Grandpa Joey, man, he was horrible with money. That's why we don't have anything. That's why we have to do things the hard way. But if he was good, that we're good and my parents were good and my grandparents, yeah, this is why we are successful. Because there was somewhere along the line, somebody said, we're changing our family tree, changing our legacy. Enough is enough. This is how we're going to do things from now on.
That is actually very, very, I shouldn't say beautiful, but it's true. It's definitely true. I mean, um, I believe that right now, if someone who is maybe in their 30s or 20s, um, I mean, maybe your family or your parents or grandparents would have done mistakes, or maybe, I mean, we cannot, you know, just blame them and then sit with it that okay, they had done wrong, so maybe I've nothing to do. I've nothing left. There is no solution out there. Uh, I mean, it is what it is. Um, and that is something that I've also learned the hard way, Joey. That we have to accept, and maybe we have to find a way out, a solution here, because there is a responsibility. There are a lot of learnings here, and whether it's for our future generations, or maybe for people around us. I mean, I would love to help people. I would love to share how we can save money, or maybe how we can um, work on wealth creation, something that I would have learned, or my experiences, or maybe someone from whom I've learned. And I think that is something, a gift that we can share with others as well around us, whether that's from.
Absolutely. Yeah, I tell people this all the time. Um, the past, you can't change the past. The past is written. You can't change it. The
Yeah.
future, the future is what you make of it. The future hasn't been written yet. You can do whatever you want. And the present's a gift. That's why it's called present.
Yeah.
It's a gift. And so, like you said, you can now there is something to like the psychological aspect of imprint, right? The past trauma does then sometimes dictate your current situation and then your future results. I'm not diminishing that at all. That is real and that's there. But there's ways to you either you either fight it and overcome it, you recognize it and change it, or you live in it. And so if you live in it, nothing's going to change. That's always who you're going to be defined as. Somebody with a past trauma or somebody that this happened to, or my parents were bad with money, so I guess I'm going to be bad with money. That's
Mm.
just the way it always is. That's an excuse in that situation. My parents are bad with money. That's the way it's always been, but I'm going to change it. Now you're making it, now you're doing something different about it. Or my parents were bad with money. That's them, not me. I'm going to be different. I've always been different. And I'm going to teach others to be different.
Exactly. Exactly.
Which one do you want to be?
And before we wrap up, I think, uh, Joey, when you realized after that cold shower that the problem is me, and I am also the solution here. Of course, you went on a journey. You learned. You, I mean, you did everything. Are there any few important, very important learnings, not like, one size fits all solutions or tips and tricks, but at least few important learnings that you would like to share with all of us, irrespective of whether the listener who's listening is young or old or whatever?
Yeah, don't I hate to I hate to use this phrase 'cause it's so silly. I was gonna say, don't poo-poo the budget, don't diminish a budget. Now, a lot of people hear the word budget and they go, "All right, I'm handcuffed with what I'm gonna be able to do."
Yeah.
No, a budget just is your permission to spend. It's telling your money where to go, and you're in control of that. So you could see exactly where you're spending money, and then you can look at it and go, "Man, I didn't realize I was spending so much at
Okay.
Starbucks or this coffee shop. Maybe I need to spend a little bit less because I really want to go on this trip next year and I don't know how I'm going to pay for it." And then you can make those decisions. You can make those decisions of going, well, I really like to keep the amount of Starbucks I'm drinking and I really want to go on this trip. What can I do? Well, I either have to cut somewhere else spending or I have to make more money. I can't make more money at my job. So guess what? I'm going to have to get a second job or a side hustle or drive Uber, deliver packages, anything I can to make that extra money. And then when you're working 18 to 19 hours a day,
Mm-hmm.
you go to yourself and go, is this sustainable? Do I really want to keep doing this for the next 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years in order to fund my lifestyle? I don't think so. So let me figure out what I'm going to do to change it. And then you start having the discussions with yourself and your money about what you're going to do to change your spending habits and your lifestyle and your changes. But I'll preface this by saying, and then I know I said I'd be brief in the beginning and I'm always long-winded. I apologize, but I preface this when I work with clients. I don't like to cut anything from your budget. If you like going out to eat, go out to eat. You like going on vacations, go on vacations. But we're going to plan for them. We're going to save for them. And if you like going on vacations and you go like, I go to Hawaii every year. Well, you know what? You may have to go every 2 years. You may have to go like a staycation this year because you can't afford it every year unless you're going to willing to sacrifice something else. And if you're going to have to go out and work more hours to pay for it, well, then you're sacrificing family time and time with your spouse and your kids and your loved ones, personal time to reset yourself.
Mm.
If you're willing to do that, then by all means, but that's not sustainable. So don't sleep on the budget. Know where your money's going, direct it. I have a course around it that helps people start budgeting, overcoming their fear of budgeting. Yeah, so the budget is, I say this a lot, and it's one of the things I talk about on my show. The budget's the foundation upon which your financial house is built. The stronger the foundation, the stronger the house. You can't build on quicksand. It's not gonna work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this is a golden nugget. And I mean, listeners, take it, it's like a journal. You're writing, okay, these are my expenses. This is my, let's say, this is my salary or my intake, monthly intake. This is my salary. These are my expenses. These are my, okay, outstanding. Okay, I have to pay this. Okay. At the end, what is left? Or maybe how much I can invest, how much I can save. Take it as a journaling. And I think this is such a golden advice here, because I swear by budget. And I mean, this is so much relevant not only for businesses and entrepreneurs, but for every one of us. And this is also, I mean, I keep on telling many people that, maybe when you're going for the grocery shopping, make a list, take a budget and try to, squeeze in maybe within that budget. Okay, this is my livable or maybe manageable. Okay, let me squeeze in maybe the bare minimum, the most necessary, and then the ones which may not be very necessary, but then maybe let's see for the next month, but at least for this month, I can figure this out in this budget.
Yeah, and it forces you to be creative.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to go and you want to buy, let's say, I know we have listeners from all over the world, and my experience is kind of limited here in the States a little bit. But let's say you want to go buy a name brand product from the grocery store.
Uh-huh.
You might have to buy the grocery store brand version of it. So maybe I can't buy Honey Nut Cheerios that are $5 a box, but I got to buy the grocery store Cheerios that are $1.99 a box.
Mm.
That's what I have to do until I can afford to buy the $5.99 box of Cheerios, and it doesn't hurt my budget. So you don't have to go, I have to have this. Well, if you have to have that $5.99 box of Cheerios, then you have to sacrifice something else. If you're not willing to do that, then you're not ready. Budget's a wake up call. I mean, first budget you do is a wake up call. You will be surprised by what I'm spending. Where? Oh my gosh! I didn't realize.
It is. It is.
Yeah, it's scary.
It is scary. It is scary. And it can come as this, jolt of shock. Oh my goodness. But
Mhm.
anyway, you mentioned about, your course on how to start with budget, because it can also, it's such an important part of I think financial wellness, which is once again a very important part of mental and physical wellness as well. So if listeners, they would like to connect with you, Joey, maybe they would have their thoughts or opinions after this conversation, how they can reach out.
Yeah, so many different ways that I am everywhere on social media. You can find me at Joey Ruffalo on Facebook. You can find my community and my show and my podcast is called the Prosperity Lounge. You can find that on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, the Prosperity Lounge. I do 3 shows a week on there with business owners, CEOs, leaders, and communities. I also have a daily show called Daily Dose of Prosperity. And that's about a 5-minute show. It's real quick. It gives you a daily tip on being prosperous, discipline, stewardship, this whole thing. We're doing a whole year on it so far. We just started in January. So every day, Monday through Friday at 9 o'clock on 9 a.m. Eastern time on YouTube and also on all different podcast platforms. You can get a new episode every day. Theprosperitylounge.com is our main space. There's you can find all this information. We have a free community there as well at the Prosperity Lounge. You can join absolutely free to get connected with others that are going through small business owners, personal finance, leadership, community, anything in there. Lots of different questions and access to myself through that. I also do like one-to-one coaching and group coaching. And then we have our course, which is it's called Don't Hate the B Word. It's our budgeting course. It's available on our website as well and on our Prosperity Lunch site and through our community. And then we have a free gift for everybody who joins the community. Everybody who joins, if they use the promo code RADIO, 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 they'll get a free uh, guide. It's called our 8-step action guide to stop living paycheck to paycheck. 8 simple steps you can do today to stop living paycheck to paycheck. You get that absolutely free sent to you just for joining the community.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Joey and listeners. Yeah, don't worry. I'm definitely going to mention all the links, all the details, everything in the show notes. So find them attached along with this episode on your favorite podcast platform. And Joey, that's a lot of stuff to manage. I mean, I'm sure you must be having a very huge team.
My team right now is me. If anybody out there is looking for work and wants to get hired, social media and editing and some other stuff, hit me up. Send me an email.
Awesome, awesome. So, Joey, thank you. Thank you so much. And this was a very, very um introspective conversation, I'm very sure. And I really appreciate that, there is no promising of, that there has been an overnight transformation or everything like I was like this, I went like this, nothing like that. It acknowledges effort, it also acknowledges discomfort, and then I believe it respects the intelligence of the listener, that it's all not fluffy or hunky-dory.
I'll leave this with everybody. I asked a successful business owner who is a little bit older than me what his key to success was. He was very successful. And he goes, I'm a 40-year overnight success. I'm only 20 years into my 40-year overnight success, so I am definitely not even there yet. So you could look at people on paper and see that they're successful. You have to understand their journey. You're at different parts of the journey. So emulate, try to be like them, but you don't have to copy them. You're not there yet. So your journey hasn't ended. It's just beginning.
Beautiful. That's a beautiful, beautiful um closure to this conversation, listeners. And if you're feeling behind or overwhelmed or confused, I believe you do not need more motivation. You need clarity, structure, and permission to move at a sustainable pace. So, thank you so much, listeners, for tuning into this episode. And if this episode challenged you or made you rethink your relationship with money, sit with that. Growth, it often starts with discomfort, not inspiration, as it did with Joy. Until next time, this is your host, Sana, and this has been BizBlend, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Thank you and take care.